Welcome to the smallpox simulation. In this simulation, you'll be presented with patients who have various skin rashes. You must examine each patient and make a diagnosis. To begin, click on the Sim tab. You will see a virtual treatment room with a patient on the exam table. Underneath the exam table, you will see 5 boxes. Each box gives a close-up view of the patient. If you would like to have a close-up view of the patient's torso, click on the second box. To see their face, click on the third box. Their arm, the fourth box. Their hand, the last box. To view the entire patient, click the first box. Begin the simulation by clicking on the Chart button underneath the timeline. Be sure to record the patient ID number and then click the Close button on the top right corner of the chart. Now click on the Symptoms button underneath the timeline. A thought bubble appears and the patient describes their symptoms. Click the next button in the bubble to read more symptoms. Click the Close button to close the thought bubble. Your next step is to take the patient's temperature. Click on the thermometer and the temperature will appear to the right of the exam table. Now take the patient's blood pressure by clicking on the green blood pressure cuff, called a sphygmomanometer. The sphygmomanometer dial will appear in the upper left corner of the screen. Click on the chart to see the patient's chart and to read the blood pressure. Click the Close button on the top right corner of the chart to close the screen. After you have documented your patient's symptoms, temperature, and blood pressure, advance the days the patient has been ill by clicking on the green arrow to the right of the timeline. The timeline will advance to day 4, and once again you must record the patient's symptoms, temperature, and blood pressure. Don't forget that you can get a better view of your patient by clicking on the icons under the exam table. After completing the exam, advance the timeline to day 8 and continue until you have completed the exams for your patient for all the days on the timeline. If you would like to go back 1 or more days, click the green arrow to the left of the timeline. Once you have finished your examinations, you will make a diagnosis. Click on the blue Diagnosis button on the bottom right corner of the screen. You will be presented with a choice of ailments. Based on your exam, you must choose which ailment you believe your patient has. Click on your choice and either a correct or incorrect message will come up. If your diagnosis was incorrect, your patient will stay on the exam table and you can redo the exam for your patient. When you are ready to make another diagnosis, click on the blue Diagnosis button and click on your choice. If your diagnosis was correct, a new patient appears on the exam table for you to examine and diagnose.